Situation now, and I'm so sick of hearing it, that there's too much information out there, and it can be confusing at times. And you think so? Dummy? I mean, can we stop treating people like imbeciles? Yeah, there is, the internet is out there, and you know, they could have never foreseen the internet, but isn't the internet, aren't bloggers the pamphleteers of their day?
Sure.
I mean, they dealt with the same thing just in smaller scale. But the scale, you're smarter than I am. As a husky man, I know the pants, when I go in to have, you know, my pants hemmed, or I go to buy a pair of pants, no matter if they were this size when I was a kid or this size as a husky male, they're still pants. The scale has changed, but you don't change the principles of the Constitution for scale, do you?
But the size of the country has changed, too. You know, we were originally 13 states, and now obviously 50, and the population now over 300 million. And Madison believed that the process of communication was key to refining and building reasonable public opinion. So the kinds of things that had to go along with the growth of the country, both in terms of territorial size and population, is improved means of communication.
Right. So what I don't understand is, turn of the century, 1900s, they said, and this is taught in our universities now. I mean, it's crazy. What I just showed. Do we have the disclaimer for the Constitution? They're selling the Constitution now with a disclaimer that these are kind of outdated ideas. They're not outdated ideas. They still work, don't they?
The Constitution, as they were trying to put it together, was a system of government. And it was a system of government assuming that power in the hands of people would be misused. That human nature has not changed in 200 years. And that system of government is still valid.
But that system of government as they lined it out, how much of it, if they came back today, if James Madison came back today, I contend he would do two things. He would say, how long did the Constitution last? And then we'd say, oh no, we're still using the Constitution, and then he'd probably slap you across the face. Because really, does this resemble what they were doing?
Well, one of the biggest problems today is this idea of the, quote, living Constitution.
Oh, yeah.
Because that doesn't mean that the Constitution is still alive in our minds and hearts. Mm-hmm. What it means is the Constitution means anything the judges on the Supreme Court want it to mean, which absolutely undermines the whole idea of popular sovereignty and free government. Jack Rakoff, an historian at Stanford, once called Madison the original originalist, and I think he captured Madison perfectly there, because the reason the original intent of the Constitution is critically important is because the people have spoken. And only the people can change that through the amendment process, which is constitutionally prescribed. If 9 people on the Supreme Court can change that, you no longer have free government. You have some kind of oligarchy or despotism.
We changed studying the original intent. We stopped studying the Federalist Papers, and here are the notes on the Federal Convention. We stopped studying those in law schools around 1920. And now, in the same law school that started that, at Harvard, now we don't even study American law. We're now studying international law. So slowly but surely, they couldn't beat the Constitution. They had to make it irrelevant, right?
And whittle away at it.
Piece by piece, over 100 years.
Piece over. And the last 100 years have probably been the most, both the 16th and 17th Amendment. I mean, I don't know what Madison would say if he was alive today about the 17th Amendment, but in 1913, he would have fought against it.
Yeah. I think he'd probably right now, if he were alive today, he'd go, man, I thought I was short back then. Look how tall you are now. Back in just a second. This is the copy of the Constitution that I told you. This is, I mean, look at this. This is from Wilder Publications. This book is a product of its time and does not reflect the same values as it would if it were written today. Man, and a truer word has never been spoken. Parents might wish to discuss with their children how views on race, gender, sexuality, ethnicity, and interpersonal relations have changed since this book was written, before allowing them to read this classic work. In your wildest dreams, anybody here, in their wildest dreams, did you ever think the United States Constitution would be sold with a disclaimer?
Never.
I mean, that's it.
Times.
What'd you say?
That's a sign of the times. Nobody thinks the Constitution is relevant anymore, and it is relevant.
It is. I'm going to introduce her in a second. First, let me introduce guests here on stage. It's Colleen Sheehan. She is a professor of political science at Villanova University and author of James Madison, The Spirit of Republican Self-Government. James Best is also here. He's the author of Tempest at Dawn. Before I get back to Janine, let me come to you with this. Set the scene of the Constitutional Convention, because they don't even know. The Constitutional Convention was so important, and at the brink, everything would have been for nothing. The Revolutionary War for nothing if this didn't come together.
Right there, it was this. The nation was disintegrating, and this was a do or die. They were either going to get something out of here to fix this, or the country would probably go into anarchy. So they had this meeting, and they voted it to be secret. They closed themselves up, and the room was hot. It was a hot summer, big black flies flying around.
No deodorant.
No deodorant, heavy wool clothing. So
Benjamin Franklin.
Right, Benjamin Franklin.
Yeah.
And now you brought him up. He used to say that 3 men could keep a secret if 2 are dead.
Right.
And yet, historians have not found anything that ever leaked from this convention with 55 men over 4 months.
But you had George Washington, and you didn't screw with him.
Right. And one day the session was over, and they were about to leave, and he made everyone sit back down, and he held up some notes, and he says, these notes were left by somebody in this convention, and they could be picked up by somebody who was not part of our group. Oh, no, they've been left in a tavern. And he slapped them down the table, and he says, whoever they are, come and claim them. And he marched out. And after that, there was no leaks or anything.
And nobody claimed them either.
Nobody claimed them, no.
Did the public have a problem with a secret meeting trying to decide what our government was going to be?
Oh, some did, sure, especially some of the anti-federalists. You know, Patrick Henry said, I smell a rat. But generally, people understood that the deliberative process required people to be able to change their minds if they were wrong.
Right.
And not just be on C-SPAN grandstanding.
They came and they weren't expecting to draft a new Constitution. We were on the Articles of Confederation and they weren't expecting to draft a new Constitution. We were on the Articles of Confederation, and weren't they all called together? And didn't some of them say, whoa, 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 what do you mean we're going to change the government?
Many of them did, and they had no authority to do what they did. It was a bloodless coup. I mean, it was the first time that Madison thought that a standing government had been replaced without the sword. There was no rebellion, no war. And they basically, with reason, designed a new government and then presented it. And they didn't go back to the states, which they were directed to do for approval. They went to conventions of the people to ratify the convention.
I don't want any hyperbole here, but I have rolled this around in my mind, and I've heard this before, that, oh, you could never have, these great minds have never come together like this before. But I mean, today, I can't in my own mind put together 10 people of this character and this intellect and this fame and accomplishment and find them to assemble, let alone have them do anything, but to find them. I mean, am I wrong? Is that hyperbole? Is that just me looking and saying, eh?
Or if you can, they're probably not